Shalom, 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 my faithful faith walkers. How are you doing this evening? It is Wednesday, the 10th of April, 2024, and it's so good to be alive and well today. I hope you are thriving and flourishing in your day today. And if you woke up this morning, no matter how you feel, no matter how the day went, it was a good day. And Sandra Lee will be on our show a little bit later. She's my special guest, also to co-host for the second half of the show. And she sings this song. It just popped in my mind. So I'm just going to say it. It was a good day. And then she sings the song Just Another Day. I don't know what the title is, but it's always ringing in my spirit because she sings it so well. And it has so much, what's the word? It has so much power, Holy Spirit power. So maybe Sandra Lee will grace us with that, a few bars of that this evening, because I think it's only 4 lines. But anyway, I'm always putting her on the spot. So I'm going to put her on the spot right from the jump of the show, since she's going to be on a little bit later. But you're watching Faith Walk, the intersection of life and faith. And tonight, this intersecting conversation is a conversation that has to be ongoing because it is so needed. It's the intersection of old school parenting with new school kids. That's the phrase I'm using, new school and old school. And as a professional counselor, my profession by education, I see individuals, families, children, youth, couples in my practice. And one of the main, say, struggles, if I can word it that way, is with parents of one generation coming together, parents and children of different generations, let's put it that way, coming together when they usually are of different generations, but coming together to have an understanding where each other is coming from. And the biggest struggle I find is with the parents because it makes sense. No matter how old we are, that's how long we've had these different habits. So, parenting habits, eating habits, whatever type of habits, right? So, parents are older than their children. So, these habits are more ingrained in them. So, it's harder to change a habit. And so, tonight we're going to talk about how old school parenting and these new school children, and when I say children, I'm not just talking about 5, 6, 7, 8, or just teenagers. I'm talking about young adults too. So it's children of parents, no matter what age. And I think, and if anybody's in the chat when we have this conversation later, you can correct me. I think pretty much from millennials down is when the shift started with the old school parenting not really working for this new generation of young people. Now, I'm not saying all old school parenting is not good. I'm not saying that at all, because there are some things that definitely should remain. But there are some things that definitely don't work for today's youth. And can I be quite honest? It didn't work when I was growing up, but it's all we knew, it's all we had. And, we were the more obedient generation, meaning if you didn't obey, there was going to be serious consequences. And so, there was no calling DHS, DIFUS, or whoever your child protective service agency is where you live back then. And not that everything was abusive, it wasn't, but there was corporal punishment more then, and it was accepted more then. Now we're in an age where it's not accepted. So we're going to get into some things like that tonight and talk about how parents can begin to think differently, shift what it is that they're saying and how it is that they're behaving with their new young people, very young teenagers, adult children, and how they can begin to shift and understand where their young person is coming from, and to be able to actually have a better relationship. Because once children feel heard and understood, now they open up more and they can feel free to say more to their parents. Whereas a lot of times parents are just not really willing to hear and listen, actually, to what the young people have to say. So we're going to get into the whole meat of the matter. And before we do, if you are watching via Facebook, like the Facebook page. We're on Full Life Communications on Facebook and on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to the channel and like the video. Please take a moment to do that right now. It's free. Doesn't cost you anything. Just click the button. Click the like button on the Facebook page on Full Life Communications, and click the subscribe button on the YouTube page and like the video. costs you nothing, and it helps the algorithm. It helps to keep me on the air because more people see the video that like it, the more it helps me to be able to improve the programming. So just wanted to share that tidbit in the beginning now. So let me just see who, I haven't looked at the comments. I wonder if Honey Bunches or Aisha is the first person. No one's in the chat yet. Okay, who's going to win? Aisha and Honey Bunches. I think Honey Bunches has 3 first time, and Aisha has 1. Honey Bunches wins. She just said, I'm here. You win the prize of the first hello of the day, Honey Bunches. Sorry, I don't have much more for you, but Aisha, you're slacking. You have 1 win, Aisha. And Honey Bunches now has 4. Okay, you got to step up your game, Aisha. So, all right. So tonight, listen, this video needs to be shared because this conversation is, I'm going to have an ongoing conversation because this is a really challenging area for parents and young folks, and share this with young people as well, because so they can understand their role in it as well. And both parties need, all parties, parents, young people, need to have patience with one another and have an understanding that I am the way I am because of how I was raised, how I am being raised, and no harm, no foul type of thing. But as long as I can open myself up to new learning, that's where now we can have success in our parent-child relationship. So even though we're going to talk about past behaviors and things like that, we're not blaming anyone. We're not, demeaning anyone. It is what it is. It was what it was. We can't change what you did in the past. The only thing you have control over is what you choose to do now. Now, if you get this great and wonderful information, I'm going to call it great and wonderful because I think it is, and you choose to do nothing with it, then that is your choice. And then your relationships will remain at the level that they are. But if you choose to embrace this information, practice it, take it on, become it, then you will see the improvement, not only in your relationship with your children, because even though this is about parents and children, this is how we should be with everyone. Some of the things that you're going to learn today, that we're going to talk about today, this is how we should be with everyone. And when we are, it improves all of our relationships. So, and when after I talk for a little bit, Sandra Lee, my special guest this evening, and my second half co-host every week, she's going to join us and put herself, and I commend her before she even comes on, I want to call it the hot seat, because she's going to share some of the things that she's learned through her adult children about what they think she could have done differently, and how she's humbling herself actually to take that in now to have a better relationship with her children now. That takes a lot. That's very challenging for a parent. And that's one of the things that parents struggle with when raising children, especially children of this generation. So now I'm starting now. I'm just going to start with that one. Parents can't hear from their children. Not to say can't, they don't want to. It's like, your child, stay in your place. That's old school parenting. Don't tell me about me. I'm the parent. I can only tell you about you. Okay. Now, my generation, we did it because consequences, right? Well, the word consequence didn't even exist then. It was punishment, right? So, and I know all of you who have some age on you can relate. But we're not in that age anymore. We're not in the age of do as I say, not as I do, right? We're in the age of children share or want to share how they think and how they feel. And they want to express themselves. They want to express, especially emotionally, how they feel. We're in the mental health age. But now, if you're being raised by a parent who didn't grow up in that age, mental health wasn't even a thing. I mean, it was a thing, it existed, but it wasn't talked about. We didn't know it in parents. Those people who didn't go to therapy, and a lot of, just say, African Americans, and most people, more people go to therapy now than they did before, even though therapy existed then and some people went. But African Americans slow to, and I dare say people of color have been slow to get on the mental health therapy train just because of fear and the stigma and a whole host of reasons. So, which we can understand why. But now more people are going to counseling, praise the Lord, and understanding themselves better and understanding how what they say, what they do affects other people. And speaking of parents, affects their children, because children become how they are raised. A child doesn't just become who they are by themselves. It's the family dynamic that's happening and how they become who they are at 5, 10, 15, 20, and so on. I oftentimes have parents come in and bring their children in for therapy. And in my practice, I tell them, I'm not going to see the child without you. Now, not that I'm going to have to see the parent every session in the session with the child, but I'm going to at least see you once or twice a month in the session with the child. Because what good is it if the child learns all this great and wonderful stuff and goes back into the home with, say, mom, dad, siblings, or whatever, and no one has learned the information that the young person in therapy has learned. And so, but everybody else in the family is doing the same thing they've always done the same way. The young person that's been in therapy is going to revert back to their old behaviors because no one else has changed, because no one else has the information that this young person has that helps them to communicate better. So everybody needs to come to therapy that's in the family, that's in that household, so we can learn together and make that shift together. The one that is acting out the most is the one who is sent, I'm going to say, to therapy. Fix my child. That's not how it works. The child got that way from how the child is being parented in the family dynamic. Everyone needs to shift. This is just the child that is identified that's made the most noise that we think, oh, you need therapy. But that's not what's really needed. The whole family needs therapy, because the whole family is in that family dynamic. This one child just keeps doing whatever, saying whatever that you think is problematic. Well, one child might not be saying much. It still could be problematic. Maybe that child's depressed and you don't even know it. But because that child's not acting out in some sort of way or sharing things in a way that's totally disrespectful, that, oh, so-and-so, Sue is fine. Well, maybe Sue's not fine. Maybe that's not why she's talking, because she's afraid to talk, or because she sees what's going on with Johnny. And like, I think I would just reserve, my behavior, my thoughts, my feelings, because I don't want X, Y, and Z consequences. So we have to look at the whole family and the whole family dynamic when we think about what's going on, not just one particular child who might be doing certain behaviors that we don't understand or that we can't control. And so we send them to therapy. So I'm going to share a couple of things just right off the bat about old school parenting. Okay, so I already talked about the seen and not heard generation. It's also you don't give your parents constructive feedback. That's not what old school parenting is about. Again, a child can't tell a parent, a parent doesn't want to hear a child tell a parent about themselves. That's a no-no in old school parenting. Hypocritical parenting. Do as I say and not as I do. And parents expect kids to not make mistakes, not do anything wrong, not to lie, not to be disobedient, not to be kids. But parents can be and do all those things, and you better not question them. How many times, for those of us who have some age on us, been there? Where we could, okay, I lied. Not that, we admit it, but parents lie. And they oftentimes teach children how to lie. There's a bill collector calling, don't tell them it's me. Excuse me. Tell them I'm not home. That's teaching your child how to lie. But then when the child lies, it's wrong. But where did he learn it? From the child, from the parent. You see? The parents teach the children who they are, who they become. It's not rocket science. 1 and 1 is 2. Excuse me. I have to drink some water. Having a little issue here. All right. So old school parents, and I'm generalizing here for all of these things that I'm saying. There's some old school parents who might not fit into this category, but a lot do. So just wanted to make that caveat. Lacking an emotional relationship with their kids. A lot of times old school parents don't have that emotional connection that children and young people are seeking. But this new generation of young people, that's what they want, because they've grown up in the mental health age, And they know that that emotional connection, they need it, they desire it. But with old school parents, they weren't taught that. They didn't have that growing up. It was like feelings, what? Get over it, suck it up. You got to move on. It's just the way it was. And so when you can't teach what you don't learn. So if that's what I know, because that's how I was parented, well, then that's how I'm going to parent my children. Not saying it's a good thing, but that's just what happens. I can't teach what I don't know. That's why it's so important to get into therapy so you can learn these things. But a lot of times people don't even think, parents don't even think that I'm not, there's a better way to do it. Like, hey, this worked for me. Right? This is what we hear oftentimes on social media. Hey, this is what worked for me. I got my butt whipped. This is what worked for me. Okay, but did it really work for you? Yeah, you grew up to be, a respectful citizen, a respectable citizen, working, and all the things that we consider a good person. But did he really work for you emotionally, which is the seat of every relationship, right? I don't think so. But we do have to do because that's what we learned. So, um, and listening is so key, so key. Parents tend to not really listen to their children, listen to what their children have to say about things, their thoughts, their feelings, their experiences, because parents think they know better. Yeah, but okay, but well, then you just invalidated everything that I just said because you parent, want to put your opinion on it, your thoughts on it. I'm just sharing with you my thoughts and my feelings. Can I have a say? Whether you agree or not is not the issue. I, as a young person, as a child, I want to have my thoughts to be shared with you. I want to share my feelings and my experiences with you without them being dismissed, judged, pounced on, interrupted. And so, all of these things that I'm saying that young people want, adults want it too. So, why would parents think that it's okay to do this in their parenting style with young people, with children, if they don't want it? If it doesn't work for you, don't do it for your child. Don't do it in your parenting. If you don't want someone to interrupt you when you're talking, I'm just using a common example, then don't interrupt others when they're talking. If you don't want profanity used to you, don't use it toward others. Right? If you don't want certain words being said to you, you don't want to feel demeaned because of how someone spoke to you, don't speak to your children that way because you're teaching them the same things that you don't want. It's hypocritical parenting. Just being honest. And again, can't change yesterday 5 minutes ago, but you can do something different now. And that's what we're talking about. Let's not beat ourselves up or beat yourself up over what you did 2 minutes ago when you're parenting. It's done, it's over, can't change it. Start fresh now with what you're learning tonight by being a part of this dialogue. So if anybody has any questions or comments, please put them in the chat so I can read them. And one last thing before I go to the chat and see if there are any questions, validation. Parents tend not to, and not just parents, I'm using parents for the topic of tonight, but this is people in general, not to validate what children have to say. Whether they're young, whether they're adult children, they don't validate their children. And that's what children want. When I'm speaking and I'm sharing my experience, your experience doesn't matter. Your thoughts and feelings don't matter at this juncture. It's just about me and my thoughts and my feelings. Can you just listen? Can you just empathize with where I am and forget about your thoughts and opinions for a moment? That's what validation is, not sharing your point of view and just listening to someone else, listening to your child share their point of view, their feelings, and then maybe being encouraging and normalizing it because all feelings are normal. So if my child were sharing an experience with me and I said something along the lines, oh, I hear you, but you just invalidated what I said. Or I just invalidated what the child said. But now if I say something like, wow, that sounds like you had a really tough day, I would probably feel similarly. Did anything else happen today? Now the child feels, or the young person or a young adult or adult child, no matter how old the child is, they feel heard. They feel like, wow, you really get what I'm saying. You really understand me. And now they will share more because they feel like you get them. You know, that saying that we say, you feel me? I feel you. That's really a thing. I know it's just a flip phrase, but it's really a thing. We want people to feel us when we talk, when we speak. We want to be felt because when we feel that you feel us, when I feel that you feel me, I feel you understand me because I can hear the emotion in your words and I can see it in your nonverbal communication, which should match, should be congruent. And now I know you get what I'm saying and you just validated what it is that I just said. So parents can improve in the validation area as well. So let me go to the chat. That's the main points of the old school parenting. And then I'm going to get into a couple of points for the new school kids. And I'm going to bring Sandra Lee on. So let's see what's going on in the chat. Oh my gosh, I think I missed a lot. Aisha says she's here. Okay, Aisha. Second place, Aisha. Your sister's got 3 more shows ahead of you. So 4, actually, 4-1. All right. So Netta's watching. Kathleen is watching. Let's see. Abby's watching. Hey, Abby, miss you, girl. Somebody here. Who is this? Honey Bunches. Okay, Honey Bunches, you wrote a lot here. Let's just see if it comes up. Sometimes if you write too much, but no, this isn't too much. I thank God I don't have an old school parent because I'm going to share my thoughts and experiences. Okay, I'm calling out the wrongs, and my mother always makes the effort to make them right. That is awesome, 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 Honey Bunches, because that is a challenge for parents. Let me tell you, it is a challenge. Honey Bunches also says the truth sometimes hurts, but I can't hold it in. And the thing is, as long as we share the truth in love and share it with the right words, don't share it aggressively, but share it assertively, then it's okay. Now, even old school parents in my day, being raised by old school parents, it wasn't okay. I don't care how well you shared it because it just wasn't done. You know, it was considered disrespectful, but it's not disrespectful when you share it the right way. Parents have to come to the understanding that, you know what, I am a flawed human being. And my kids do see my flaws. And you know what? I can learn from them if I open up myself to hear the feedback from them. That's a hard pill to swallow, parents. Old school parents. Now, new school parents, it still is because I see new school parents too, but not as much. And it depends on, and this is where I'm going to get in with the young people, how you say what you say. Now, don't come at me so disrespectfully giving me this feedback that you expect me to receive from you. Now, here's where we have a problem because I'm not receiving that. And that's where the young people can improve, but that's taught. All right. So before we get into that, let me see. Wendy Whitfield says, thanks for the reminder, link, Netta. Thank you, Mom, for sending the link out. Gwen says, what is this? Too small. Oh, okay. I think you might have spelled it wrong. I'm not sure what word you, Gwendolyn Dean. It looked like ouch, or maybe should be coach. I don't know. Put it back up, Gwen. Let's see here. Tell them about me in love. Is that what it says? This is my mom. Tell them about me in love. Okay, so you're telling me to tell the audience about you, Mom, but tell them in love? Absolutely. She's Netta. My mom is opening herself up to feedback. Thank you, Mom. So this says here, Honey Bunches says, I had to seriously work on my delivery of my truth because it wasn't always received well. The delivery is of the utmost importance because no one wants to be spoken to in an aggressive manner. And when I say aggressive, it doesn't have to be yelling, screaming, and shouting. It's your word choice, right? If you use words that are demeaning and your tone, remember the nonverbals are more than 90% of communication. So if your nonverbals are assertive, the shaking of the head, the attitude in the voice, who's receiving that? You don't want that. So why would you want to say that to someone else and think that they're going to receive feedback said in such a way? Right? So Honey Bunches, that's great that you really worked on yourself to do that. It is a work. This doesn't come easy. Just because I'm saying this doesn't mean that I do it all the time. I'm a work in progress just like everyone else. But The information is the information, and we all need to strive to be better today than yesterday and better tomorrow than today. But that's an intentional work. You'll hear me say that all the time on this platform. It has to be intentional. If you leave here from this show tonight and what you learned, wow, that was great information, I'm going to share that video, and you do nothing, you're not intentional, nothing to change and improve. You're not intentional about what it is that you even probably say you want to do. I want to improve my communication. What are you doing differently? Nothing. Well, what good is awareness if you don't do anything about it, if you don't use it? So let's not get this great and wonderful information that I spent how many years going to school to sit before you and share this, as well as life experience, and as well as, most importantly, Holy Spirit giving me this anointing, this calling to do this and to share this. Because again, I take no glory in myself. To God be the glory. Holy Spirit works through me. I'm just a vessel, right? And so he uses me to help others as well as myself to be better. And I have scriptures to back up everything that I say. So this is not Sharon saying do this. And again, there's research, because again, this is my profession, that says everything that I say. So this is not Sharon. This is gospel, Christ, the Bible, right? And it's my profession, the counseling profession. So don't kill the messenger. Just hear the message. Don't see me. Hear the message. Okay. All right. So let's see. Let me get back here. I think Wendy says, so true. It's how you say it. Absolutely. Netta says, yes. Okay. I think I got through the comments. All right. So any more comments, put them there and I will get to them. I'm going to just say these couple of things before I bring Sandra Lee on. So now this is the new school kids. I say kids, but you're talking young people again. But now some of this stuff is the younger generations. But again, I believe it started, and anyone put in the chat, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the new school age of young people started with the millennials on down. So this is, now I know parents are going to really find this like, yeah, you're totally right. Just like the young people with what I was saying, like, yeah, you're totally right. Here we go. So new school kids, this is where they need some help. They speak their minds, but often disrespectfully. And I've already said that in so many ways. They do it disrespectfully with their tone, their choice of words, their attitude, sometimes profanity. Listen, again, I see families in counseling sessions, and they behave in the session the way they behave at home. And it all comes out. Profanity, all of it. And very disrespectful. Now, again, not all families and all young people, right? But it does happen. And even if it's not profanity, again, attitude, tone of voice, that matters. You're not going to speak to me with a certain tone and expect me to receive it and expect me not to challenge you to do better. So that's where our young people can improve. Also, not honoring their parents in the way that they speak to their parents, in the way that they behave, right? There's a way to do a thing. So that defiance, that slamming of the doors or destroying property, like throwing their phone and now the phone is broken, all types of stuff like that, because they're mad that mom or dad said, I don't know, clean your room or put your phone down. That's a huge one today, let me tell you. And I'm sure anybody who's watching who has young people, the phone is where they live. You try to take that phone, it is going to be a problem. I have had young people to have meltdown so bad that the police had to be called. I lie to you not. They are trying to fight their parents. They are destroying the home because of a phone. So we got to work. We got to work to do, right? Parents, it is so important that we start these working on these challenges at such an early age. Can't wait till a child becomes a teenager and then start doing this. If you didn't learn it till they were a teenager, okay, fine. But it's hard. It's harder to tear down and rebuild than to just build. So the earlier you start, when the child comes out of the womb, right? And all they know is this because you know it, and now you're having children. They don't even know these other ways because you didn't introduce them to them. So you have broken generational patterns, which is what we need to do. And that starts today. Doesn't matter what happened yesterday. You can break generational patterns today. It can start with you by humbling yourself, opening yourself up to constructive feedback. And remembering the baseline is we are all flawed beings. We are all broken beings. So if we start with that baseline, then that means my flaws are showing. Yes, they are. In how I speak, the decisions that I make, how my relationships go, my flaws are showing. You don't have to tell me what your issues are. I can see them by the decisions that you make. I might not know the specifics of it, but I know there's an issue there. It has nothing to do with me. Now, I might have a little more insight because it's my trained profession, but others see things too. You're not hiding it, you're just in denial. So let's get out of denial. Let's stop projecting. Let's stop being defensive. Humble ourselves like, you know what? I'm going to receive constructive feedback. When I constructive, that means it's said assertively. It's not aggressively. It's not demeaning. It's I'm sharing this. We all can benefit from you being better by me sharing this. Because when you're better, I'm better. When you're better, our relationship is better. When I'm better, you're better. When I do better, our relationship is better. And my relationship with everyone else is better when I'm better. Because I decided, it's a decision to become intentional about not doing those things that I know didn't even work for me. Why would I want to continue that pattern with my children? Why would I want to do that? But we're so just habitual creatures. Well, this is how I was raised. Well, just because it was how he was raised doesn't make it right. It didn't work for you then. Why would you want to? That's what we have to think. Like, wait a minute. Why am I carrying this on when it really wasn't a good thing when I was growing up? We have control. When you're a child, you don't have control. But when you become an adult, you have control over what you do, set, and say. So take that control and be better. We're not striving for perfection because that'll never work. Perfection will never happen because you will always be flawed and broken in your humanity. Don't strive for perfection. Strive to just be better. All right, let me look into the comments, and then we're going to bring Sandra Lee on. Let's see, what does Aisha says? My husband always says that when he was growing up, the classic line, children are seen and not heard. Ooh, Aisha, and I'm much older than your husband. Can I tell you, my generation, I'm 60. We didn't invent it, but we heard it and perpetrated it. Okay. Netta says, that is so true. Tell it like it is. Yes, mom. All right. I think that's the last comment that I see. If I didn't see any comments, I'm going all the way back to the top. I apologize. Cut and pasted again. For some reason, sometimes just to let you know, if you're watching and you didn't say anything in the chat, I don't know you're watching. So you have to say something in order for me to know that you're watching. All right, just wanted to get that back out. And you could just say hi if you don't really want to say anything, but then I can at least appreciate, just say thank you for watching the show. Okay, so now let me bring on my bestie and my special guest for this evening. She co-hosts the second half of the show every week, but today she's my guest because she's a parent to 4 beautiful adult children. And she has a lot to say about how she parented and what she's learning about her parenting through her children who have given her feedback. And so she has a lot to share that I think is going to help a lot of parents because of her walk and her actual, I'm going to say, courage to actually come on the show and share what a lot of times we don't want to share, which is our vulnerability. It's vulnerable when we share, our flaws and how we have to humble ourselves to learn things. It's a good thing, but it is a vulnerability because in our humanity, we don't like to do that. We shy away from that. And that's why the depth of our relationships isn't there. We live on the surface of our relationships because we don't want to be vulnerable and share certain things. Sandra Lee is going to come on and she's going to share, and I'm going to bring her up right now.
Hey,
Hello, Sandra Lee. How are you this evening?
girl, I'm burning in the seat because I put my
Now,
out there.
I hear you, but
Yes.
your volume sounds really low. Not sure if
Okay.
you can turn that up. Is anybody else her Sandra Lee's volume is low? Catherine Cruz. Hey Kathy, how are you? Thank you for watching the show.
Is it up? All right. Can you hear me, Sharon?
I can hear you, but it still sounds a little low.
All right. Well, maybe
Sandra has is
I,
technically challenged just like I am. She has to have a young person to help
yes.
her. What will we do without the young people?
We don't know what we would do. So I will
Exactly.
just
We would
talk
we can't
louder.
exist without them. The generations need each other.
You're right, right, right. So I will
So
talk
just
louder.
a little louder, Sandra, because I know you have a deep voice,
Okay.
but talk louder.
Okay. How about now?
It still sounds the same.
Okay. Well, I don't want to shout so loud that the neighbors will be knocking on the door. So uh, turn the volumes up on your devices. So
Uh-huh.
I just want to start off by saying this seat is hot tonight. It is a hot seat tonight. And I am on here to um, be truthful, to try to be as transparent as possible without, jacking my own self up. I
Right.
want to start off by saying I thought that I was the best parent you could ever find because when my children were little, I had a thing called open door policy. You can come talk to me about anything, come and have a meeting. And my little children will be lined up at the door sometime. I want to meet. I want to meet you, mommy. I want to have a meeting. And they may come in and just say something like, today was a good day. Okay, that was wonderful. Nothing necessarily great, but as time went on, they would come in and talk about different things. So I knew I had a line of communication, which is always wonderful, right? But it wasn't until after my children were adults, and they are adults now, that they started sharing some things with me that, quite frankly, I was totally shocked and not really validating what they were saying because I've been accused of you're not really listening to me, mom. I am listening because just like you said, when you when a person is wanting to be validated, you can't say I hear you, but and that's what
Right.
I did. I specialized in I hear you, but and then I didn't understand. Well, why do you think I'm not listening when I'm listening and I hear you? So thank you for bringing out what validation means and actually how you do validate a person.
Mhm.
But one of the things that my daughter told me, which shocked me to no end, she said to me, now, let me just say this. Being open to feedback is not easy. Even though I had old school parents, my parents are old school in a sense, but getting feedback was not wonderful. But I will say this, because I work at the place I work at now, and you were the director at the place that I work at now, and you taught us how to take um, uh, uh, constructive criticism with those process groups. Lord
Yeah.
have mercy. Those process
I
groups
force
that we
them, you
would have.
guys, every week, Monday.
Woo, Jesus.
Process group.
The process group was you sitting in a circle with your friends, your peers, and you share what you're feeling sometime about them. It wasn't very easy, but I learned it. And because of that, I'm more open to feedback. And so when my children would give me feedback, I thought I was doing good. But what I found is I was very defensive because I was like, you lying. I know that ain't me. Case in point, one of my daughters was telling me that I was never home. Now, I'm like, I know you lying. What do you think I was? I was at work. I worked two jobs for over 15 years on one of my jobs. One job I've been on for 20, one that I've been on for, well, I retired from that one, but I was on there for 15 years. So when she said to me, you were never home, I'm saying, job don't count. So I'm thinking like outside of the job. And I said, well, I was working. Yeah, mama, but you still wasn't home. Well, what was I supposed to do? That ain't the point. I'm just saying to you, you were not home. Because I felt like when I got off work, even if it was 10 o'clock, I didn't necessarily have a curfew for my children, so they stayed up as late as they wanted to. But that's anyway. So that's how I did mine, you know. And so if I'm with you for an hour or so before you go to bed and we laugh, I'm thinking that I am covered in that area. And so when I was told that, when you are learning this process, you're going to have your feelings hurt. You have to swallow, because what you have to realize is the reality of what they say is their reality. So you can't say, I know that's not what happened. That's their reality. And then what I had to realize is, well, I do remember being gone a lot, but I was working. And so even though it was for a good reason, it still made them feel like I wasn't there a lot of times. You know, that was just kind of one example. And so as I'm learning, and one of my daughters in particular, she let me tell you what, she challenges me to be a better mother, the mother that I thought I was always great at. So one of the things that she tells me, like when I walk in the house, right? She said, Mommy, take your shoes off. Why do you take my shoes off for? Mommy, because it's dirt, it's too much dirt. Well, that aggravates me because I got 15 pair of shoes at the door. That's not the point, Mommy. You don't want to track that because that's why these viruses are ready. So taking constructive criticism, even just information, as a parent, you don't want to hear it. Why are you telling me what to do? You ain't my mama. Because I've even said that conversation. Like, I think you slipped into a role where you think that you're my mother. And then, and my daughter, she'll say, well, I'm not your mother, but sometimes I can tell you stuff that you don't know. So that's all right too. And so this whole thing of learning, because the bottom line is it's really you being a better you. But it's
Right.
hard to hear that when you thought you was great. I told you I thought I was great. And so
Well,
to
Sandra,
get
let me
those,
interrupt you right there.
uh-huh,
It's not that you weren't a good parent, because I don't want people to misconstrue this. It's not that you weren't a good parent. It's just that you could have done things better.
right, right, right,
Right. So it's not, oh, everybody who didn't do these things in the new school way are bad parents. Not at all. You can't do what you don't know.
right, right,
Right. And so you just didn't know. But now that you know, you're doing better. But it
right,
didn't make you a bad parent before. Because
right,
again, a flawed parent can't raise a perfect child. Our
right,
children are going to have flaws regardless of how great, even doing all these new school things, regardless of how great a parent is, they will still raise a flawed child. And some of
right,
their scars will still rub off on their children just because that has to happen in
right,
our flawed humanity,
right, right,
right?
right, right.
So don't beat yourself up too much.
Yeah. Well, no, I didn't beat myself up too much, but I was beaten several times, just verbally. When I say beaten, I mean when my children would tell me certain things, and it stung because you'd be like, wait a minute, I thought this and I thought that. And at first I was very defensive. I heard, if you ever look at as Ayanna Van Zant, and you see how she's working to get the family together, and a lot of times the parents are sitting there looking like, I know that ain't happen. You lying on me. You going on TV lying on me. And as I watch this show, I would say, she knows she did that. I'll be very judgmental with the parents on television. Oh, they know they did that. And then now when things are brought to me, I'm like, I didn't do that. Then my mind go back to Ayanna Van Zant, and I'm like, oh, I am one of those people in denial. And so again, it is just about being a better, because what I realize is when my children would tell me stuff, and even though it might hurt, it really was bringing me closer to them, because now you cannot really raise, I didn't know this, but you can't raise an adult child like you do a child that's 5, 10, or
Absolutely
15.
not.
So something shifts right there, right? Like you may say, you ain't going out. And they like, but I'm 25. I got a job and I got a
Hmm.
car and I'm grown. And they're
Right.
like, oh, but I'm seeing your mama, you can't go. So you have to switch. And a lot of people I think are stuck. A lot of folks that I know are stuck um,
Absolutely.
with the mind of, this is my child, even if they are.
Exactly.
I know my bishop. She says that her mother, I think she was in her 90s when she passed away, but when she was alive, my bishop would say, I'm 60 so and so, and my mother still tells me what to do. She said, I still have to respect my mother, right? And so it's just a matter of, when you are an adult, when you have adult children, you do have to see them different. You do have to speak to them different, because you talked about speaking and receiving,
That's
like
right.
that nastiness, like, oh no, right. Well, we
Hmm.
invented this, honey. A mother invented. I know you lying. We invented it. Period. So when it's coming back to us, just like what you said, oh, I know you ain't talking to me, because you do know I'm your mom and I knock you out, right? Even
Hmm.
though we say that, and we might semi mean it, we're really not going to knock you out. What we're really saying is, why are you being disrespectful? Because we don't see that when we do it to them, that it's being disrespectful, because I hold a position of being a mother. So that gives me the right to do a certain thing. And it's not until you realize how hurtful it is when it comes back to you that you say, well, wait a minute. Ooh, maybe I ought to redo that. And so there's been times where I have to go to my daughters and say, I want to apologize, because I did, when you was telling me so and so, I didn't really hear you well. I heard you, but I didn't get it. I'm going to speak out for one of my daughters in particular, Ayana. She is really gifted in giving feedback. Gifted, I'm being sarcastic. She, she's anointed with giving out that information, and so, but in doing so, we were knocking heads, because I'm like, first of all, who you think you are? But as we grew and developed better communication skills about things that she had that she wanted to say to me, then I started learning, okay, well, Sandra, just listen to what she's saying, and maybe she's right about this. And when I would latch out and just lay her out with everything in me when she would be telling me something about me, then I go in my bedroom, and then I start thinking, then I start feeling guilty, then I come back out and I apologize and I give her a hug, and then we'll go from there. So this has been a journey to be a better mother. A journey, not that I'm saying, like I said, I'm not saying I'm a terrible mother, but it is ongoing. As long as we're
No,
living, it's ongoing.
absolutely.
So it's
Absolutely.
not like I got it. All right, now I'm doing good, because how I deal with Ayana may not be how I deal with Aisha or Akila or Amira. Because you have these different personalities and what have you. So I am learning. So when you were on last week, it was so good, and I said, okay, I probably am going to make myself available to share just a little bit of how this journey to be a better parent and be great. I know the other thing that I know, I can't be out here loving all of these other people. If you know me, then you know that I am a southerner and I love people. I'm an encourager. I will inspire and encourage you to do the best. I can't do all that to all of the people that I work with, or I know, or I meet in the street, and not have that at home for my people. I
Right.
can't be a wonder out here and then be horrible in here with my children, right? And so that is something that I do know that you just have to work on. You can't have two faces when it comes to that,
Hmm.
you know.
And
So
the
that's
point that
that's
you brought out, I'm sorry, the point that you brought out about parents transitioning, I'm going to call it, from parenting young children to teenagers to then adults is such, and specifically going from a younger person to an adult.
mhm,
Um, Parents really, really, really struggle there because they still try to do, as you said, with your experience, the same thing that they did when they were parenting that person when they were young.
mhm,
But when you're young, you're training a
right,
child. Adults don't need training. You've trained me all these. I don't need training now. I just need support. Maybe
right,
your wisdom. So it's more of a supportive parenting, a
right,
wisdom sharing parenting. It's not a training parenting. And parents don't oftentimes make that shift because all they see is you're my child. It doesn't matter that you're 60, 50, 40, whatever.
right,
Right. And so then when that happens, when the parents don't make that shift, then adult children, can become angry, and frustrated. Like, you're still treating me like a child.
right,
I am grown. and I don't like it. It doesn't feel good to me. And again, just like the parent was a child once, and their parent probably did the same thing. It didn't feel good to them when they were young. So one of the main things that I keep saying is think about parents. Think about when you were young. What did your parents do that didn't work for you, that you didn't like? Why are you still doing it? Break
Right.
that generational pattern. It didn't work for you. It's not going to work for your children.
Right.
So be intentional about, you know what, I'm not going to continue this just because it's a habit. I can break this habit. And like you said, Sandra Lee, this is not an easy thing. Changing behaviors and attitude, because it's a mindset. That's changing our mindset. Are you kidding me?
Okay.
Right? That's a work right there. And
Work.
and opening yourself up to be vulnerable to hear feedback from your child, adult, teenager, whatever. Parents really have to make a shift there. Like just you said, what? You're not supposed to be telling me about me.
Right.
I can tell you about you, but that's where it stops.
Right.
And then the whole hypocritical piece. And this is where, young people today who, have not learned, and I think it's part of parenting, how to give constructive feedback.
Right.
They'll just say what they say and it'll be disrespectful. And I'm talking about the teenage years, right? And it's parents have to learn to give their children the freedom to share, but they have to teach them how to share, right? Because
Right.
you remember, they're going out to school, they're hearing young people talk any old kind of way,
Right.
not the way that you might be teaching them in the home, and they come home with that. But you have to check it. It's like, that might be how your friends do it. That's not how we do it here. You can share what you want to share, but there's a way to share it. We have
Mhm.
to be respectful. And the young people today, this is their thought. My mom didn't respect me. I'm not going to respect her. Why should I respect her? I hear it all the time. But we know that that's not how respect works. Respect works like respect the position, not the person. You would not be here if it wasn't for your mother
Right.
and father. Respect the position. Doesn't matter how great, wonderful, bad, whatever your parent is.
Mhm.
Respect the position. Like your boss. It could be a horrible boss. Respect the boss, the position. All right. And so that's what young people have to learn. It's not because they didn't disrespected you. Respect the position.
Right.
So, there's challenges on both sides, but the onus is on the parent. They're the older one. They're supposed to be the wiser one, right? But we have children, young people growing up who are wiser than their years because of what they're learning, because they're learning this mental health stuff that old school parents didn't learn. And there's wisdom in the mental health field that they're learning and bringing home, but it doesn't work at home because the parents don't understand it because they weren't raised that way. So that's why it's so important for parents to listen to their children, because you'll learn a lot and you'll learn how to shift in your parenting. But parents have to be intentional about, what, I'm going to break this pattern. I'm going to listen to my child. Just because my child is my child doesn't mean they don't have wisdom to share. You can learn anything from anybody
Right.
if you open your mind to the fact that this person may have something that I can glean from. And if they don't, okay, you dismiss it.
Right.
But everything that your child has to say isn't wrong. It need to be dismissed. Children have a lot to say, a lot to share, and they need to share it to deepen their relationship with you. And then parents wonder why their children don't talk to them. Well, how did you act the last time they said you something? That showed them you can't handle what they have to say by how you dealt with it when they told you the
Mhm.
last thing. So if I can't tell you the small thing, I surely am not going to tell you the big thing. And that's by just your tone of voice, yelling, whatever. It's like, oh, okay, I can't tell mom this.
Right.
Keep it to
Yeah,
myself.
Sharon, excuse me. Let me say this. That's funny that you said that, because initially when Ayana would tell me something, um, and I would, do my usual going off or not listening or not validating, whatever. And so she would say, "Oh, you know what, mommy? See, that's why I'm not gonna tell you anything. That's why because you're not listening, or you're not validating what I'm saying. So I'm not gonna tell you anything." And now again, not understanding why she felt like that, because I thought I was listening. I thought, but I was in that old frame of mind, which was like, well, I hear you. I'm the mama and I hear what you're saying and I'm right. But I had to adjust. If I want to know something, I
Mm-hmm.
need to be listening because we work with mental health and addiction. And the people we work with, we see the result of sometimes where the parent or whoever is raising that person is listening to what's going on in the household, and they're not listening, or they think they're lying, especially when it comes to abuse and stuff. And then you have a person that is deeply on drugs because that person didn't listen when they told them that something was going on in the household, right?
Right.
And
Right.
they were like, "Oh no, that's you. No, that's not. This didn't happen. That didn't happen." And so it's not just, it's listening. Period. When a child is telling you something
Mm-hmm.
about their daddy, their uncle, their cousin, the neighbor, whoever it may be, uh,
Mm-hmm.
you can't dismiss it. Um, suicide rate for young people is at an all-time high.
Yes.
Young people are so depressed. I'm talking
And
young.
anxiety.
They are depressed and full of anxiety, full. And so at work, we have quite a few new young folks that are now in the program, and they really want to talk. And I'm kind of like mother. I come across like mother. And so they really, really want to talk quite a bit. And so, and it's because I guess they didn't get that talking at home.
Mm-hmm.
So they
At
come into the
home.
program, they really want to do a lot of sharing. But you have to listen to whatever age group it is, not just adults, if it's children, to hear what they're
Absolutely.
saying, because they're giving you some information. You just got to hear.
Absolutely. And you want to know what's in your child's mind. So when they share things and you can tell, oh, that's distorted,
Right,
because somebody has gotten their mind. But if you're not listening, you don't know the distorted thoughts that they have that they've
right,
picked up from other people, because
right,
now they're just going to go off of whatever it is they're thinking because they're young. They don't
right.
have all that wisdom. So if you're not listening, you won't know that this is what they're thinking. Or if they're shut down because you don't listen, you're not going to know what they're thinking. But let me, it's almost 9. Let me get to some of these comments because
Okay.
they're important. So Kathy says, any words of wisdom for having a large blended family? I have 3 biological children. My husband has 2 children, and I raised 2 of my nieces, age range 18 to 7. Okay. Blended families are I can't give you all the information I would like to give you right now, because it's 1 minute to 9. But everything that we've said tonight, take that to heart and look at yourself first before you look at the young people. You and your husband, look at yourselves first. Share this video with your husband and with the family and take from it what you can so everybody can begin to do something different. That's the first step right here. Watch this video with your family and everybody can see themselves somewhere in this. And just remember, whoever is watching, am the first partaker of this change. If I change, I no longer accept from myself what I used to accept from me. So I'm no longer accepting what it is I used to accept from you because I'm changing now. And vice versa with everyone else. Now, if everyone is not accepting from their own selves what they used to do, now we're all changing for the better, right? And so if their challenges are really great, I would suggest, get into some family therapy. But we're, watch this show. We're going to be talking about this. And maybe Sandra will do a part 2 next week because there was so much more. I didn't even share my scriptures. I got scriptures for everything that I'm talking about. But, it's 9 o'clock now and that's the hour of our show. So we'll do how about a part 2 next week, Sandra? Is that okay with you?
That's fine.
Okay. And this
Maybe,
is
maybe
so
one
important.
of my girls will come on instead.
Oh, that would be great if you and 1 or 2, 3 or 4 of your girls will come on. We can have
I'm
up to
putting
10
them on the
people on
hot
the
seat.
show. And if anybody else, as a parent who's watching, or a young person, or if you are an adult and a parent and you have both perspectives, the email, I'll put the email up. Send me an email, fulllifecommunications@gmail.com, and let me know that you want to be a guest on the show. And there's the email going across the screen right there. Let me know you want to be a guest on the show, and just put guest in the subject line of the email, so I'll know that is what you're seeking. I'll do a call or email you back, and we could talk about you possibly being a guest on the show. Let me get to these other comments really quick because We're over our time. The gift of feedback, Honey Bunches says. Honey Bunches also says, making myself available for feedback as well as creating the safe space is really necessary. I feel for maintaining and building healthy relationships. Absolutely. Both. It's a give and take both ways. Both people have to be receptive in the relationship. And she also says, truthfully, you don't know what you don't know. Giving your parents grace is something children must do as well. Absolutely. Grace on both sides. And let's see, Catherine says, I'm going to make Kiki watch. Mom. Okay. And Netta says, that sounds great. I think she might have been referring to a part two. So that's the end of the comments that I see right here. So thank you so much, you guys, for engaging with Sandra and I tonight. This is a topic that's ongoing. We all need it, because if you think about it, it's not just for parents and children. I've just couched like that. But if we're like this with everyone, that means we're communicating better with everyone. And so therefore now our relationships can go to a deeper level. So join us next week for part two of Old School Parenting, New School Kids. And Sandra will join me then as well. I hope you will join us next week as well.
Yes.
Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Please do it right now. Does it cost you anything? Like the Facebook page if you're watching on Facebook, and like the video. Do it right now. Do it right now. So that is our show for this evening. We thank you so much for watching. Wendy says, thanks, more parents should join. Absolutely. Share this video for people who you know can benefit, and then know to join us each and every week, because we're giving out great information, because we're changing the world. The tagline for Full Life Communication is transforming the mind of the culture, one episode at a time, right? This is a Holy Spirit work. This is not a Sharon and Sandra work. This is a Holy Spirit assignment. So we are on assignment to help change the culture, and allowing a Holy Spirit to use us to do that on this mountain of media. So again, we thank you so much for joining us. I hope you got something from this show that you will begin using tonight. Don't wait, because we wait, it won't happen. Start now by being intentional. We love you. Thank you so much, Sandra, for being on and sharing, and being vulnerable and humble and sharing what you shared.
Yes.
Appreciate you so much.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, have a God night. Have a God week. We love you. See you next Wednesday at 8 p.m. for part two. Shalom.
Shalom.